Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the HomeTech Podcast. Jason Griffin here, so happy to have you with us. I am joined, as always, by my partner Seth Johnson. Seth, how's it going?
Good, Jason. World traveler, I guess, or what is it? Northeast?
Something like that. East Coast traveler.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah. Happy to be back. I was sorry to miss last week. I'm happy you and Richard were able to connect and get a show out, but I was just the last 20 days or so have been really crazy for me. I went, let's see, the order was Denver to New York, to Boston, to Woodstock, Vermont, back to Boston, back to New York.
I've already forgotten.
Down to Charleston, South Carolina, back to New York, and flew back to Denver yesterday. So all business stuff, all great. Had a lot of fun. A number of really fun events and important meetings, and it all went off really successfully. So I had a great trip, but exhausting. Man, I'm really happy to be home. Came down with a little bit of a cold on the tail end of it, so you're probably hearing that in my voice. But like I said, a really great trip, and happy to be back here, back in the saddle and recording another episode with you.
Yeah, imagine that. You all that travel and you got sick. And
you get sick.
I just don't believe it, Jason. How does that happen?
What gives? Yeah, exactly. So anyways, yeah, a fun show here. It's just going to be you and me, Seth. We've got some big stories, actually, a number of really important stories we're going to talk about, and look forward to that as we always do. Want to take this opportunity to thank all of our supporters here at the podcast. If you're interested in learning how you can support our efforts here at the HomeTech Podcast, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm/support, and that's where you can learn about our patron program, where you can become a supporter of the show for as little as $1 a month. We've had a number of people over the years come on board and do that, and we really appreciate it. In fact, just this week, we had Jess Rothenberger come on at the $5 level, which we're very excited about. And we always want to mention those that come on at the $5 level and give them the shout out on the show. So Jess, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. And one last time, if anyone else listening is interested in learning about that, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support.
Yep. And I want to also thank everybody for showing up in the chat room tonight. Looks like we got a little crowd in there. Kind of piling in as people have come in and maybe left because of the music I play. Who knows what it is? I don't know, guys. You're the one that get to listen, not me. So
you come for the show, but you stay for the music,
right,
Seth.
Right. Exactly.
Something like that.
So I do want to thank everybody for hanging out in the chat room and giving us a little interactive show, something to do here during the show and kind of keeping us on our toes. So really do appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, it's always fun. I also, Seth, want to actually make just a quick small apology. I missed this week for the first time on our Home Tech Top 5 newsletter. Definitely committed to doing that weekly, but with all the travel, something had to give. But do want to take the opportunity here to encourage people, if you're interested, we're now doing a weekly, or at least our goal is to do a weekly newsletter of the top 5 home technology stories. And Seth, you and I really spend a lot of time as we prep for this podcast, following a ton of different blogs and forums and industry newsletters to really cull and pull out the relevant smart home stories. And as part of that work, we're aggregating a lot of content, and we've decided to roll that into a weekly newsletter. So a great way, catch up on. We typically send those out on Sundays, and so you can catch up over your morning coffee and get a rundown on what we think are 5 of the most important stories in home technology. So we have a lot of fun putting that together, and I look forward to getting back in gear this week. And so if you're interested in receiving that, head on over to HomeTech.fm and just look for the sign-up form on the right-hand side of the website.
Yep, it's there on most pages. And also, if you're unsure, I wonder about this because, Jason, I've been listening to podcasts for like a very long time, like a ridiculously long time. Now that I think back, maybe like 6 or 7, 8 years, long time. Like it's been a long time
since before they were cool.
Yeah. Like hipster podcast. Exactly. If you don't know how to listen to a podcast, I have put some links that are hopefully a little bit helpful on how you can subscribe to a podcast on the website. And there's a little icons and everything to different places that you can get the podcast, different podcast listening apps and whatnot. So if you use, like, a lot of people use the iTunes one, which is built into iTunes, but there's a lot of other apps out there like that exist on other platforms. And we also are on YouTube now. So when the show goes live, usually on 9 a.m. on Friday, live, when the show gets posted 9 a.m. on Friday, these, iTunes will publish it, and then all these other, like Overcast, I use that, it'll show up there. But also over on YouTube, there's a little audio show that'll show up there as well. So just kind of giving you a number of ways that you can listen to the show. If you have a specific app and a different way that you want to listen, there's also the RSS feed that's on there, which is a little more techie way to add the show, but at least it's there. And hopefully that helps people come to the show and listen a little bit more if they haven't figured out how to do it by now. But you can listen to on our show. You can listen to on the website too. So if you've been doing that for a year, maybe check out how to, some of those other links. They may be a little easier to listen to the show as well.
Yeah, no, I think those are useful. We often talk about iTunes, and that's sort of the standard or the most common one. But yep, there are a number of other ways you can listen and subscribe, including now YouTube. Seth, you set that up recently, so definitely go check that out. But let's jump in here and get started. Another fun pick of the week. We want to thank Klein, who posted this over in the hub, and this one's a gem. I got to admit, Seth, it took me a few minutes, sort of staring at it and scratching my head and thinking, wait, like, am I looking at what I think I'm looking at here? And I'll do my best to describe it here. You've got an iDevices smart plug plugged into the wall, and the description below it, this is from like a product page somewhere online, and it goes on to describe this switch and talk about how it's one of the better ones out there and integrates with Alexa. And presumably trying to illustrate that point, they've got an Echo plugged into the switch. So just think about that for a minute.
It's amazing. It's like a kill switch.
Yeah. Alexa, turn off my Alexa.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. This looks like a review. It says review.com smart homes up at the top. So I'm gonna guess that's where this is posted. It's just kind of an image that we have, like a screen capture that we have to go off of. But oh man, how funny is that? Like,
it's a fun one.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't let you do that.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Oh man.
So that was a good one. There was some fun dialogue around that in the hub, which I should mention is our private Slack channel, as one of the benefits to becoming a patron. Even at that $1 level, we'll send you an invite, and it's become a really great community and a ton of fun. So thank you, Klein, for sending that over. Seth, let's go ahead and jump into the news. The first story we wanted to touch on is an update on the Sigma acquisition. So Sigma being the, of course, the Z-Wave chip maker, and this deal has been circulating in the news. There's been some talk of it, and so Silicon Labs was just about to acquire the Z-Wave developer Sigma Designs, and is now being reported by CE Pro that deal looks like it's on some shaky footing here. It was initially going to be a $282 million acquisition, but it looks like Sigma failed to deliver on some of the contingencies, I guess, and it looks like there were closing conditions related to Sigma was to divest of some media connectivity and smart TV divisions. So there were some divisions of the company that they needed to divest from, that Silicon Labs was presumably not interested in acquiring. They only wanted the Z-Wave technology, and Sigma failed to meet the deadline there. And so anyways, long story short, it looks like the deal is still potentially in play, but could be a much lower price for Silicon Labs, to the tune of saving them about $40 million. But there is an opportunity here potentially, now that this deal is looking a little bit shaky, that, who knows, somebody else could come in and make that acquisition as well. So we'll definitely have to keep a close eye on this one and see how it develops.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this means that Z-Wave is going to go away tomorrow. Like, if this deal falls through, Z-Wave is still out there and a standard. Like, I think it's still a valuable thing. So $240 million and they save $40 million, or somebody else comes in and says, I'll take it for $210 million. Like this isn't Z-Wave's not going anywhere anytime soon, but this is just basically who owns that Z-Wave branding and technology, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, and I certainly don't read this story and have any question about the future of Z-Wave as a technology. But it is interesting. You've got a company like Sigma. They're the only chip maker for Z-Wave technology out there, and to see this deal taking a hit, and to me, quite honestly, 282 million, given the amount of time that Z-Wave's been around and the base of installed devices out there, and the fact that Sigma Designs is the only chip maker out there, didn't strike me as a super high number, frankly, and to see that number now potentially going even lower is surprising. So I'm not don't profess to be a business guy or really an industry analyst who can speak with any level of a real frame of reference on these sort of things, but I do find it interesting, and I think the smart home professionals and consumers alike would be well served to keep a close eye on the story and see what'll happen. But Seth, I agree with you. I don't see the future of Z-Wave as a technology threatened in any way by this, but will just be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it sure will be. Speaking of playing out, there's a lawsuit that's played out over the last year. This seems like it's been going on. Ring finally settled with ADT on the Zonoff lawsuit. The famous video doorbell maker has finally settled with ADT for $25 million. And I had a little tweet when this first came out. Ring pays ADT $25 million to go away.
Yeah, right.
Because that's pretty much what happened here. This has been kind of this ongoing drama of a story where Ring came in and bought Zonoff in the parking lot, and there was a spy. This is almost like a spy novel, right? Like a USB stick was passed that had some proprietary technology, and ADT had been paying Zonoff to develop some of this technology, and they weren't too happy about Zonoff handing over that technology to one of their competitors without them having any say in the matter. So looks like there may have, I don't know, this doesn't look too good for really anyone involved. But it looks like Ring is probably going to come out on top because their new alarm system is finally going to be able to ship. I'm hearing that here in the States, at least, it's going to be shipping sometime here in the first quarter, which is great for them.
Yeah. It is. I think that 25 million seems like a relatively small price to pay. I think I read in this story that the initial offer, though, was maybe half of that or something, and ADT turned that down. But at the end of the day, I think Ring is, like you said, going to come out on top, and they're ready to just move forward. And this could have played out a lot of different ways. Like you said, it kind of sounded like something out of a B grade sort of spy movie when you heard about how this sort of acquisition of this intellectual property went down. It was literally in a parking lot where a suitcase or briefcase was being handed back and forth with a USB stick on it. It's this long and winding tale, but ADT had sunk. This story says $36 million into Zonoff to develop Z1, which was a smart home as a service platform that was going to then be used in a couple of different security and automation systems, and those never really materialized. And then Zonoff got in trouble as a company or decided to sell or whatever, and Ring came in and acquired this IP. And anyways, here we are. So Ring is going to be moving forward, like you said, Seth. I think that's the big takeaway from the story. Ring Protect is what it was initially called. They sort of unrelated to all of this have decided to rebrand as Ring Alarm. And the story says that they made that decision because Nest has their smoke and CO protectors called Nest Protect. And so presumably to avoid market confusion, a slight rebranding there. So anyways, there you go. Ring Alarm is going to hit the market. I'm excited for it. I hope it does well. I know we've talked about it on the show numerous times, Seth. Very disruptive price point. $10 a month professional monitoring is a fantastic deal for the consumer. And like I said, I hope it does well. I've certainly got my eye on it as a product that might be a good fit for us here, and so we'll we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website now. They have all the prices and devices posted now on prices for all the devices posted now on their website. The kit, which looks like it's a door chime, a siren, a keypad, and a motion. It's $199. $50 for an extra keypad, $30 for an extra motion sensor, range extender $25, flood and freeze sensor for $35, a CO. I like this. Alarm, smoke, and CO listener. That is $35, which is a really, really great price for a wireless smoke detector. An additional alarm contact sensor is only $20, and that's a very, very, very competitive price with most every other system out there. So not only are they going after the disruption on the recurring monthly monitoring service for, I think it's like that $10 a month level, or $10 a month, or $100 a year. They're going after to disrupt the hardware business as well. So I will be very, very interested to see, one, how well this system works, but how well it penetrates the market and people like it. It will be very interesting to see how this works.
Yeah. Ring has been a really busy company all around. I know had a number of stories that came out of CES, and they're just continuing to plug away. So they're a company that has done really well for themselves in terms of making a foothold in the market, and they continue to expand and grow their offerings, and so I think that's great for them. And like I said, we'll keep a close eye on it. But let's move into our next story here, Seth, because I feel like this has to be a little bit of a momentous announcement for you, and I'm not sure if you I don't know, maybe it's a little bittersweet because it's been such a long and winding road, but we finally have a ship date, Seth, for HomePod. Tell me how you're feeling.
And why am I crying? Why am I crying, Jason? Why am I?
Well, there could be any number of reasons.
Right.
One of which it's not shipping with multi-room audio.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be the flagship audio product that Apple was going to deliver to us. And the two major features that they were bragging about, it's not going to ship with. They're not shipping with multi-room audio, and they're not shipping with the stereo. So if you want to pay for two of these things and bind them together, stereo pairing, bind them together and make a stereo pair, they're not shipping with that. They're going to update that later in the year. And I'm going to put my disclaimer on this one. Never buy a product based on a promise from any company, even if that company is the world's most profitable company. Like, don't buy the future. Buy what's in front of you now. And if the HomePod is compelling as a standalone speaker for $350, I say go for it. Go buy one. I'm sure it'll be okay. Oh, also, it's only half a Siri. Like, it's not a full implementation of Siri. You only get like a fraction of what your phone can do for Siri. What else can we, like, just asterisks on this product? This is such a weird, like, I was for sure that they would launch this product in the spring with like the new iPads and everything, where they'd have like, hey, here's what else this product will do, because having a better audio speaker, meh, who cares? Like that's been done, right? It better, like, and anybody who's an audiophile, they're not going to go out of their way to buy a $350 streaming speaker. They're going to avoid it like the plague and set up their big giant B&O speakers, or what are those focal speakers? Like they're going to set those things up and listen to their 2-channel in peace in their listening room. But they're not going to set an Apple Home. Oh, it's awful. And the imagery they have, like, it's still the same imagery of like this empty white room with the HomePod sitting over on, like, it's depressing. Like, it is absolutely depressing. In one of the strangest product launches from Apple I think we've seen in a long time. For what I'm seeing here, I know that a lot of people worked on this and have been working very hard to get this thing out and done. But man, it just seems like they aren't really sure what. It seems like Apple's not really sure why they're selling this product. I don't think they know. I think, and for that matter, I don't think Amazon knows why they're selling the Amazon Echo. We talked a little bit about this in the hub. Like, really, Amazon's putting a $50 Amazon logo on your kitchen counter so you remember that you have that Amazon account. But other than that, it really doesn't make much sense why these products exist for most people. But I think Apple really missed the mark here. I'm for $800. I should be like the like product, like this should be my product, right? I should have a whole house full of these things. And I'm just not convinced that this is a product that anybody should buy right now. I think it's a wait and see to see what Apple does with it. Because it's just not having better audio coming out of a speaker that, may or may not get some upgrades in the future. I think that's a big question mark. I don't really think that's anything that anybody should run out and buy tomorrow. Like I said, if you're really invested in that Apple ecosystem, maybe it's a good value at $350, but you can do a whole lot better and a whole lot more with some other products, cough Sonos, or, even Google, the Google home devices like the Home Max. It's a little more expensive, but at this point in time, it does a whole heck of a lot more than the HomePod is going to be doing. So really will be curious to see how this thing does. And I'm very disappointed with the launch and what they've done here. I was definitely hoping for a lot more.
Tell us how you really feel, Seth.
Time to take a drink.
Greg saying Seth is depressed in the live chat. I don't think it's so much depressed. It's incensed.
Yeah. $350 for what?
Indignant.
Like, don't tell me you're delivering audio grade audio files. This is not an audio file speaker.
No, I know. It's crazy. It is really surprising to see Apple just sort of fumbling their way through this process, right? You think about Apple and you just don't think about sloppy product launches. That's like the thing that they've always done, or arguably better than any other tech company. And so it is really out of character. I agree with you. I think that there will be a fair amount of people who run out and buy this straight away, just out of brand loyalty. And it is certainly a step above in audio quality, presumably. I haven't heard it myself, but from a $100, $200 smart speaker. But I agree with you. I think it really, like when I saw the big things like multi-room audio aren't available on, when it ships, and this sort of half-baked implementation of Siri. And it does feel like a confused product. It feels like I think I used the term before, and I'll say it again. It feels a little bit like a Me Too product, which, to say that about a company like Apple feels very weird to say that. But it does feel like they are. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it feels like they don't really know why they're selling this product. I guess I would say that it feels, maybe take it a slightly different direction and say it feels like they're only selling this product because they feel like they have to, because Amazon and Google are selling similar products to this, and that they need something like that. And there's just, it's just, I'm not sure what's going on there. But like you said, a lot of people have worked really hard to get this thing out there. They're going to get it into the market. Your point is well taken, Seth, about buying what's in front of you and not buying based on future promises or what a company says it's going to do. I do think when you look at something like multi-room audio from a company like Apple, it's a pretty safe bet you're going to get that. Now, if it's important that you have multi-room audio next week or next month or even 2 months from now, then maybe look elsewhere. But if you just want to have the product for what it is now, and multi-room audio is something that you can wait for, they're gonna have it. There's no way that they're not gonna push that out. That's not gonna happen. It's just a question of timing. I think it said, I'm trying to remember here from Apple's site, coming this year is all it says. So it doesn't give any specifics about when that'll be available. But surprising, very surprising.
Yeah, coming this year. But they launched this thing back in May or June at WWDC. They told us all about it. They told us about these flagship features that it would have, and we were all kind of scratching our heads like, there's got to be more, because Sonos figured this out 10 years ago. Like, that's multi-room audio. I think there's got to be a bigger play here. If there's not, this product's dead in the water. It really is. For $350, for it to just be an audio streaming device that only works with Apple Music too, right? It's not going to work with everything else. It will work with AirPlay, but not the AirPlay 2, because they're not that I think they're not ready with. Or as Greg is pointing out in the chat room, hi Greg, the multi-room audio probably has a patent behind it, which we know about from Sonos, right, and Denon. There's some multi-room audio patents out there that they're not going to either pay for, or they have to work around or find workarounds, and they're not ready. But this has been a very long time for the world's largest and most profitable technology company to come up with a multi-room audio speaker that's 7 inches tall that they were showing off at WWDC, a half a year ago. Like this is insane. I don't really understand what's going on here. Like I you know what? I think I'm going to go out and I'm going to order one of these I'm half tempted to order one of these, and I've got a ton of Sonos gear here. Like I'll set this thing up against a Sonos Play 1 and maybe 2 Play 1s, to get a stereo pair, because they can't figure out how to do that yet. And maybe Play 3, because I got 2 Play 3s. I'll set them up against a Play 3 and play, a couple Play 3s. And then I'll have 14 days to decide if this is worth $350 and return it. Because
there you go.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna do a Siri in a can challenge and see how well the can works, and put my money where my mouth is for once, and go out on a limb and see what this thing looks like, because right now the specs are just not compelling for $350 to buy.
Well, you heard it here first. Seth is going to do our Siri in a can review, the shootout. Seth, we're going to hold you to that. I think that would be awesome. So let us know if you're able to make that happen. I think that would be pretty cool. A couple of other things we'll include in the show notes, HomeTech.fm/196. Holy cow, I can't believe how close we are to 200. But HomeTech.fm/196. A couple of other stories here. There were some screenshots that leaked out, the HomePod settings interface and volume controls. Kind of interesting to look at how this will be set up. It appears as though it is not going to have a dedicated app. This story from 9to5Mac says, unlike Apple Watch, HomePod won't have a standalone management app, but rather behave more like a HomeKit accessory. Some of the more rudimentary settings include the ability to turn on and off HomePod's LED touch surface, press to speak to Siri, and toggle Siri sound effects. And the story goes on to describe some of the other settings. So interesting to take a look at if you're curious how that is, what that setup process is going to look like. Head on over to the website, HomeTech.fm/196. And then the other just quick thing I wanted to mention that I think is sort of interesting is that it will support FLAC, which is a lossless audio format that, the audiophile community here, again, quoting from 9to5Mac, says the audiophile community has been asking Apple to support FLAC. For years, the company has been using its own lossless format, ALAC, or Apple Lossless Audio Codec, which is only supported within Apple's own ecosystem. So I know FLAC is a big common protocol amongst audiophiles, but that word audiophile gets used a lot and can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think your point earlier, Seth, was a good one in terms of if they're really targeting the quote-unquote audiophile community with this product, that really depends on how you define audiophile, because that can be a whole different ball of wax when you start talking about that stuff. So anyways, it is an important codec or audio format for people who are into high quality audio. I do know that much. And so I thought that was worth pointing out.
Yeah, no, I know FLAC is big, uncompressed audio or lossless compression audio format. So that'll be nice. That'll be nice that it supports that. But again, it all comes down to how well is that audio going to sound out of a 7-inch tall speaker, and does it sound any better than a device that is maybe $100 less and does more? Like the Sonos. So I'm very curious in that, like, if sound is really where they want to hang their hat, like this thing really better sound like a more than a $350 speaker. It really better sound special.
Right. Well, I think you'll be able to tell us soon enough, right?
Yeah. Well, it looks like, their pre-order goes on this Friday, but it doesn't ship until later. It doesn't. Hold on.
It says February 9th. Yeah, I think I actually don't even remember if we might have buried the lead there.
Yeah.
In all of our haste to talk about all of the implications. But anyways, arrives in Apple stores beginning Friday, February 9th. Is available to order online this Friday, January 26th in the US, UK, and Australia. Will arrive in France and Germany this spring. So I don't know if that means order online on January 26th and they ship right away, or if that's just a pre-order and they start shipping the same day they go into retail. It's not totally clear to me. But anyways, there you have it. No longer have to wait, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, Siri. One thing is good is Siri in a can is here, and I do find it interesting how they're developing the those settings and everything. We'll put that link in the show notes that you were talking about. That's very interesting. That it's not going to have its own app and complicated setup and how it works. Like Sonos has been getting buried for how awful their app has been lately, and I think it's been kind of funny. Like today, I've been seeing these like post from Sonos and Patrick Spence on Twitter, like, yeah, we messed up, we fixed it, we've been listening, like we've updated the app and we've made the interface easier. And honestly, they needed to, because the Sonos app for the last couple of months has been really confusing. How you get from basically from point A to point B, and they broke everything out. How you get from rooms to what you actually have to play with Sonos, like, completely changed. And if I'm confused, I know end users and normal customers will be confused. And it got to the point where I was just like, I really don't even want to use the Sonos app anymore. Why would I want to use this? Like, this is garbage. But evidently they have made some changes. I don't know what they are, because for whatever reason, I'm having kind of the same problem I saw over in the hub. People were reporting that for whatever reason, my app doesn't want to update. But I'll have to get back into that and get it updated and check out what they have changed to make this easier, because it's been really awful to actually use the Sonos system, which is not what they're famous for, right? Like they're famous for having a great interface into their product, making it easy to select music, making it easy to take that music and pump it into different rooms or certain places that you want it to go. And it has not been that way for a couple of months here. So I'm glad to hear that they have updated the software and changed it.
Yeah, I've been hearing that refrain from a lot of people out there, that the app updates have just been going in the totally wrong direction. And like you said, that really, when Sonos first became really popular in the home and was really used in a ton of projects that I worked on when I was an integrator, that was one of the big things that it was known for and loved for, was the ease of use. And so it's unfortunate, but it sounds like they tried to do something different and it just didn't work out. And hopefully they'll be able to course correct and get that get that straightened out.
Yeah, this all started with Sonos back in the iOS 6 days, right, where Apple went from the skeuomorphic version and Sonos had that nice blue app with everything, and then everything went like flat.
Yep.
And there was no buttons. You couldn't tell what was a button from text. So kind of put the blame on Apple for kind of pushing that direction so hard. Sonos went all in and said, okay, we'll do that. And they really haven't come back from that. And I long for the day that we have that nice little blue app that was, almost like 3 different sections or 2 different sections if you were using the iPhone, of an app where it was very easy. Things were laid out. Rooms were on one side. You had your content in the middle and what you wanted to be playing on the right. Like it was super easy, a super easy app to use. And we just don't have that from Sonos these days. It's a chore to use, and it should not be.
Right. Well, speaking of Sonos, they're back in the news for not so great reasons, although completely shouldn't be unexpected. This, like Seth, you and I were talking about this before the show, and really shouldn't come as a surprise. The new Sonos API that they announced a while back. I think people were sort of, peeved is the word that CE Pro uses, and I think that's an accurate word in terms of the API being a little bit limited, not allowing access to certain functions. And of course, there's been all of these other companies out there over the years who have built their own integrations using UPnP, and that's really what Sonos was leveraging. And in theory, that's an open protocol. It's a universal plug and play, and so companies figured out ways to integrate with that. And as Sonos came out with this API and started pushing everybody in that direction, well, it looks like they're now, if I'm understanding the story correctly, back in the news because that hard line now is being drawn where I think some of these UPnP integrations may have been allowed to function maybe at least in a limited capacity for a little while, but they will be completely blocked soon. So any, company out there using those UPnP integrations, you're going to have customers out there sort of stranded in the dark. And if you're a home technology professional and you've got a deployed base of installed systems, I know URC, Seth, you mentioned they sent an email out to their dealers letting them know, hey, here's what to do. Tell your, basically telling the home tech pros out there to go to your clients and tell them not to update their Sonos app. And that's like the temporary sort of stop the bleeding type of approach. But I can tell you from working in that industry for a long time, as much as you try to tell clients not to do upgrades or updates without speaking to you first, to check for these sort of things, that doesn't always happen. And so unfortunately, there is going to be some collateral damage here from this new policy by Sonos, but it is not something that should come as a surprise for anybody who's been paying attention.
Right. I think this is a bigger story for the smaller companies that they either weren't on Sonos's radar to become a partner, Sonos partner, and get the approved official API that wasn't part of this UPnP API that has been basically reverse engineered. Like the UPnP API was what Sonos used to talk between their own devices. So people had gone out, reverse engineered that, made their integrations wedge into that somehow, and through basically brute force have been using that UPnP API. Now Sonos is cutting that off, saying that's not how we're going to do things internally anymore. We're going to have an API for partners to use. But the smaller guys out there, I know I saw an email from URC, RTI, Josh AI. I know there have been a couple of other ones that I've seen. It's just not coming to mind right now. But what about all of the the small do-it-yourself integrations out there, like the small DIY home automation systems that we kind of went through those, and a lot of them. I remember a lot of them a couple of years ago when we looked at like the state of DIY. Those had Sonos integrations, and they were using that UPnP API. They're not going to be able to become a Sonos partner and use that new API. I highly doubt that Sonos is going to hand over some open source keys and say, hey, play with this to an open source software company. So it will be very interesting to see how that gets mitigated. They may just be cut off completely from the Sonos ecosystem. I have all faith that companies like URC and RTI and Josh AI, I know that they said they were all working on an official solution to work with Sonos because it's so popular with their dealers. They have to. So hopefully they get all that hammered out in the next coming months. But I know that the software is either out now or coming very soon that cuts off this UPnP API.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. There's a lot of a lot of politics at play, I'm sure there, and all of this probably boils down to very complicated licensing and control over metadata, and all of the stuff that goes on in the back end of these deals that that companies architect to get this music into the house. And so, like I said, unfortunately, there's these bumps in the road where sometimes integrations break, and hopefully. Not too many dealers will be affected in too bad of a way, and not too many end users, more importantly, will have their systems affected. So, like everything, we'll certainly keep an eye on that and see how it develops, and offer our thoughts as any additional news or stories break on that. But I think that's all we've really got for this week, Seth. So we'll look to wrap up here. Want to once again thank everybody who has supported our efforts here at the podcast. One last time, if you're interested in learning more about how you can do that, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. That's HomeTech.fm/support, and we would love to have you on as a patron. You can do that for as little as $1 a month, and we'll shoot you over an invite to our private Slack channel, The Hub, and we'd love to have you join us there as well.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, go lay down, get some rest.
Yes, I think I will. I appreciate that, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again next week, Seth.
All right, sounds good. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, great. Take care.